Let's get it.
Bienvenue dans un nouvel épisode du Squeak Show by Tony Parker. Alors aujourd'hui, on est à Barcelone. On va discuter basket avec un acteur, peut-être vous le connaissez, il s'appelle Darko Peric, ou peut-être vous connaissez mieux sous le nom Helsinki dans Casa de Papel sur Netflix. Vous allez voir, il connaît très très bien le basket. Thank you, Darko, for doing this. I know you love basketball. By the way, I love your T-shirt. I love your T-shirt. I know you asked me like if I knew everybody. I know all of them.
Yeah, man.
I love that T-shirt. Where did you
You're
get the
missing,
T-shirt?
but you're too young for that.
I'm too young. Yeah, I'm too young to be on this
The
one.
next edition.
Next
Next
edition.
10, 20 years, you're going to be there.
Where did you buy that?
He's a friend of mine. He's a friend of mine
he's a
here
friend.
from Barcelona. That's a funny story, man. I just going to make this short, you know.
Yeah.
He saw my post on Instagram and he said, man, you're playing on my hoop. I said, man, in English, you know. I said, man, that's my hoop. I'm playing in my neighborhood. I said, man, I live there. I said, yeah, I live there too. So he was 52 and I was 54. So
Okay.
door by door, living there for years. And then
That's
we met.
funny.
He loves basketball and he's doing these great T-shirts, man.
I need to ask him like a new T-shirt with not this generation, but the generation of mine. Maybe you can put. If I had to do that T-shirt,
Yeah,
I
tell
will
me, tell
put Dirk Nowitzki.
In the middle, of course.
I put Pau Gasol. I think I'll put Kirilenko,
Oh, AK-47.
and then maybe Turkoglu, and then me. And be a good T-shirt from after that generation.
Okay, I'm going to tell him. He's going to
Yeah.
see this.
I'll send you a text with all the names, and you can do a little T-shirt like that.
Definitely, man, definitely. Yeah.
Where the love for basketball came, like when did you start, like for people who don't know you, because I told my people who was watching the show that I'm going to talk to somebody who really knows basketball, but you have no idea, but he's not a basketball player. Where that love came for basketball?
I mean, few of these guys are actually the reason I love basketball. I mean, I was born in Yugoslavia. I mean, Yugoslavia for basketball was, you know, was
Number one sport.
number one sport, and then you know after US is the second country with the most golden medals and the trophies, you know.
Yep.
So anyway, you know, I grew up in 80s, you know. I start like playing some basketball end of the 80s.
So did
that
you
was-
play? You play at school?
Yeah, I play in the school. Yeah.
What
But, you know,
position? What position you were playing?
I mean, I was a pivot, you know,
Okay.
under the
Okay.
you
Okay,
know,
like center.
center, but you know, at one moment I stopped growing. You know? So 183 in Serbia is just like okay, you can
small.
play handball, you know, but basketball, you know, you're too big to be a playmaker. But I was just playing in school. But I was watching a lot of basketball. Everybody was playing basketball.
Who was the first hero that you watch? Is it Drazen Petrovic?
Yeah, man. Dražen Petrovic definitely, but Divac was more the character. Divac was the first guy from Yugoslavia went to NBA. You know, it's like he was so Divac, and there was also another guy and this couple. You know, like Toni Kukoc and Raja. Raja was like for
Dino
me.
Raja.
Dino Raja was like for me. So that was the first one.
So that was the first wave of Serbian players going to the NBA. Because if you talk about Vlade Divac, Dino Raja, then Petrovic was maybe a little bit before, and Toni Kukoc, you know, that was the first
and
wave.
Don't forget Žarko Paspalj.
Ah,
He
yeah,
was-
Žarko
he was
Paspalj,
with
who
Pope.
played the Spurs.
Yeah, he would play Spurs, you know. Yeah.
Žarko, yeah.
So yeah, this is the end of 80s, you know, all that like Partizan, Cibona, Jugoplastica.
I think 1991 was the last time Yugoslavia won the European Championship. I think when it was
European.
it was still called
okay.
it was called Yugoslavia. You know.
And yeah, in 90, I think 90 was Argentina. They won a medal there.
I think you're right. Yes.
in Argentina, and that was that fight between Divac and Dražen Petrovic
that's
because of the
right.
flag.
Because of
Yeah.
the flag. That's right.
And that was like the beginning of the end. And then in '92, Croatia played
Yeah,
the
and then
finals
Croatia played against the Dream Team.
against the
in
Dream
final,
Team, and that was the game that like everybody from our generation and that part of the world was like, oh my God, imagine all the team,
Yugoslavia against the USA. Yeah.
So, but hopefully now next year in Paris we're gonna have
The big team.
After 30 years, we're gonna have a big team, American big team as well in Olympics, and Serbian big team. So let's see.
When I look at the evolution, like it's crazy. Like Serbia, even when they split up, and you have Croatia, Slovenia, is they still like have an unbelievable team, and they still, with that small country, produce unbelievable players.
Yeah,
why you think that happens?
Man, but in Serbia on one side with the basketball, but what about Croatia, man?
Yeah,
Like in the football,
It's
it's crazy,
true.
man. Like twice,
True.
they are the vice
Because-
champion of the world, man. It's like,
No, that's crazy. Like all the kids, when you're at school, they just love sports. Like, and I guess the coaches are got to be really good too.
I mean, that coaches like all over the Europe, are mostly from there, and it's really like the culture like that. Look now, like with Djokovic, what's going on, like for less, I don't know how many years, and the guy is like completely, and there's like so many kids in Serbia. It's really like, I think sport, and that was always like, tennis was something apart, but the team sports there, it's just like crazy, man. Like people really like that, and there's like, I mean, you play there, you saw the atmosphere there, you went there so many times.
The atmosphere is unbelievable.
It's just like,
For me, it's the best. It's the best in basketball, best in Europe.
no, it's just what they're doing now. Like they're filling this arena, like 20,000 people every game, like Red Star and Partizan. This is the first time. In the same time, they have two EuroLeague clubs, two clubs in the EuroLeague. So it's just like amazing, man. Like they played yesterday, 20,000. The day before they played, Partizan played 20,000. So it's just like, I don't know if it's DNA, man. I don't know what to say. Like people from Balkans are really like, not only Serbia and Croatia, like Montenegro and Bosnia. I mean, Bosnia.
But it's unbelievable because we just opened a new arena in Lyon, brand new arena, and we were thinking, how do you get the crowd, to have a the atmosphere like Serbia, like how do you create that? How do you make that? And I don't think you can do it. It's just like you say, maybe it's in the DNA or it's just like in your blood. You just super because you come and you sing the whole game. Every basket you score is like an explosion.
They don't sit, man. I left Serbia 30 years ago, so I'm a little bit used with this kind of games like we saw last night, you sit down and applaud, like NBA games.
Like NBA games.
There, man, I mean, you have to stand. If you sit, you don't see
They get
nothing.
mad at you if you don't
and
stand.
They're like huge, so it's just like, okay, you have to stay there. And no, it's crazy, man. I don't know, really, sometimes I'm thinking about that. And then everybody knows everything about basketball, It's like here, everybody knows about football. There, everybody, you can just sit at the bar and then let the guy starts, you like basketball, blah, blah, blah. And it's crazy, it's crazy. So that's I think that's when I get hooked, All the environment, everything. I remember my father was in the army with, in Pula, in Croatia, and that's one of my first Knego. I don't know if you remember Knego.
Knego?
Knego was a Croatian basketball player, man. He was this guy
like super tall?
Super tall and super hairy, man. This is like Knego. I mean, I will show you after.
I'll take a look, yeah.
So my father told me and then that is one of the first things that get my mind, like basket. And then, of course, I was living in a small town, I'm not from Belgrade, So in ex-Yugoslavia, my small town was really small. Now it's like, okay, on the map, you can find it in Serbia, but before it was really so I didn't have that chance to go to see them, to see the games, to see the players, And then after Money Heist and all that, Casa de Papel happened, I met a lot of them, So that for me, it was and I'm still living that dream, the kid of the, Darko's dream,
What do you think for you the biggest difference between the EuroLeague game and the NBA games? Do you like watching both?
Every game matters in EuroLeague, What I'm feeling in NBA is just they're all playing and waiting for playoffs, because they are all kind of know, okay, they're gonna go to playoffs. But here is like,
Last night was a great game.
no, it was an amazing game.
Because Barcelona, they really had to play hard to beat us.
No. And that's what I like in European basketball. You know, you can be tough, you can be, but here is not. You cannot go from one hoop to another just like Antetokounmpo here. You know that. You know,
Yeah,
so
for sure.
that's what I love. That's I think the biggest difference.
Yeah,
Like
the intensity and stuff
intensity, and then the supporters, man. You saw last night, Palau, but still you have that, and it's all the time.
The crowd was good too last night.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
good. Yeah, it was
And
really good.
it's like 6,000-7,000. It's not like
No, it was good. So growing up, you love basketball. When did you say, okay, I want to be an actor? You know, because in Serbia, I don't know if like the acting world is pretty big in your country. I don't know. When did you decide like that's what I want to do?
I mean, as I said, like Yugoslavia was completely different country.
Yeah.
You know, Serbia now is a small country. Yugoslavia was still like 23 millions, so it was big. And I grew up with that culture. You know, like they was doing a lot of movies. There was a funny thing. I don't know if you know that in 70s, end of 60s, 70s, Tito, the former president, decided, okay, we're gonna put some money in the film industry.
Okay.
So they was doing like serious movie. They done the movie with Orson Welles. They brought Yul Brynner. They brought like serious actors, and they was doing these movies about the Second World War. You know, the partisans
Okay.
against the fascists, the Germans, Nazi. So we grew up with those movies, man. That was like, I don't know, maybe 1,000 these Bellic movies.
Really?
War movies. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
crazy.
Okay.
I will send you some links.
Okay.
It's-
Okay.
So yeah, that's was growing with that, and I was like, you know, like that is the same like with the basketball, man. It's the same, like you get hooked on that, and since a small kid, I said, I want to be an actor. I want to be an actor, but of course, you know, there's always that but, you know, small town. I was doing theater in school, but then, you know, you have to go to Belgrade. You have to go to the biggest city to continue education. And then we had this damn war that happened. And I had 14 when the war started. So that was just like, okay, finishing, and I supposed to go to the high school. So when the war started, everything like changed, like completely. Everything was like total chaos, you know? I mean, and then of
Do you
course,
have a lot of memories about that time, the war and everything?
yeah, man, imagine I had 14, you know?
You were
you're-
14, so
you're a
you
teenager.
remember good. Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
you remember very good, you know, teenager. My idea that, you know, the other day I was reading, like, we don't really know if that was a real memory of, or that I was reading somewhere, you know, but
Yeah.
I had like, since I was a kid, I like to draw. Like, actually, that was my first passion, like drawing.
So drawing, you were drawing like whatever you see.
Yeah, like a kid, like I was drawing, really like, I like that. And I like cartoons, you know. So in Yugoslavia, there was this school for animation in Zagreb. So that was my dream, you know, that I want to go to do that animation school. They was doing these amazing cartoons, 2D, is old school cartoons, but amazing. And yeah, of course, the year I was supposed to go there, that was like a huge step. That was in my mind probably, you know, like, and then the war started, Croatia, Serbia. So I went to veterinary high school, like,
you
for
did?
the animals.
Really?
Yeah,
To be a vet?
to be a vet.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, the passion was still inside. And then I moved. I went to Romania to study.
Okay.
And guess what? I was studying the veterinary medicine there, you know.
Okay.
But then I met like some friends, and they were studying drama theater academy. So I was living with them. And then at one point I said to my father, listen, I think I want to study to be an actor. And my father said, are you joking? You know, the country is completely chaos, you know, like,
But you want to be a vet?
you study to be a doctor and you want to be an actor? I said, no way. You can, but if you pay your own studies.
Yeah.
So that's how I finish I have my degree. veterinary medicine. And but during that period, I was doing short movies. I was doing like some theater performances, and step by step, it take me so long time to admit, to say to somebody like,
I'm an actor. Yeah, I know.
So much.
But because at the beginning, you know, when you start, you always do both at the same time, meaning like you have a little job because you have to pay, you know, for your studies or whatever. And you try to do like small, like you say, small little movies, documentaries, whatever it is, like small little parts. So it's hard to say, you're not the first person who tells me that as an actor. Like it took me a long time to say I'm an actor.
It took me a very long time, man. I was like, okay, what am I? You know, like I'm an actor, I'm a vet. I was doing tattoos because that was my backup job here, you know, I mean here.
So where did I come that love for tattoos? Yeah, because I saw that you were doing tattoos and so you did that for a long time?
Yeah, man. It was a pretty long time, maybe 15 years. You know?
15 years?
15 years, yeah.
I had no idea.
It was like completely side job.
But you had your like your place where people
No,
come?
I was working in the studios. Yeah, I was working in the studios.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so people will bring like drawings and you'd be like, okay, and then you do it, no problem.
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
used to draw too, so it was pretty easy, I guess.
I don't know, yeah, like tattoos, these days it's completely different story. You know, now is everybody tattoo.
Yeah, everybody,
But, you know,
most
back
of
in
the
the
people.
90s, that was really like a statement, you know. It was really like and of course, man, like I always said, like my tattoos are somehow, how you said, how you said, shield, no? To put, you know, to look tough because I'm big, you know, where I grew up, you know, the environment was violent, you know, and then.
And so you was making a statement like, I'm tough,
So
shield. Yeah.
tough guys, he had like
Tattoos.
So and you put some tattoo, and then it was like, okay,
Man,
you don't
if
mess with
people
this guy.
only knew back then that you're super nice, if they only
man,
knew.
but it's like, you know, and even when I grow up, you know, here now I'm laughing, you know, like the other day, like some guys from police, like, can we take a selfie? I said, okay, like 5 years ago, you would ask me for the ID.
Exactly.
You know? And now you're taking selfie with me.
Yeah, because
So-
people always have that image that tattoos, like you're not a
Prejudice.
good person, you know, and I'm like, it has
Prejudice,
nothing
man.
to do with
Prejudice, you know. Like they see you, they put you in that kind
Yeah,
type.
yeah.
Like, type.
And so the last time you did a tattoo on somebody was like, how
No.
long?
Last time I think it was, let's say maybe 6 years ago.
6 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, my friend from States. Yeah, that was the last tattoo. Yeah, there was a funny story because I felt like, okay, I need another glasses. You know, I need the glasses too. And I said, man, listen, I'm starting like my career now. Okay, it's going like an actor, so I think I'm gonna leave this. So I still have equipment and everything. You know,
So you still have your equipment and.
everything. Hopefully one day my son is gonna want to do some tattoos, so I still have some free spaces on myself.
How many tattoos you have?
I don't know, man. This is like
You never count.
never
You
count.
just go by feeling how you feel, and you say, okay, I want to do it.
Yeah. So mostly are from the friends.
And you do on yourself too.
Yeah, of course. I have some on the legs.
But some of them you can't do by yourself.
No, only on the legs. No. This is like all my friends. You know?
Okay.
This is only friends. You know, I'm not the guy who go to the studio to get a tattoo. No.
Okay.
No one in the studio.
Only your
Yeah,
friends.
Only friends. Yeah.
Okay.
Old school, man.
Old school. Yeah, no, old school. And so what? 5 years ago, 4 years ago, you say, I'm an actor. Like, when did you decide? You say, okay, I'm an actor. I can go see my dad and say, hey, I'm an actor.
Yeah, actually, everything changed for me when my son was born. You know, that was 8 years ago.
8
So
years ago. Okay.
Then I decided. Before that, I mean, you know, like you guys from the sport, you have your preparation, of course, like actors, they go into academy, all that.
Yep.
So I was like, when I was cast first time, I was cast because I was big, beard, tattoos, and I was doing like a bad guy from Eastern Europe, you know, once, twice, 3 times, you know. And then I've done a movie with Benicio del Toro, you know, and that for me was like shift because I saw first time doing a movie with the A-lister, you know, Benicio del Toro is huge. And there was a Tim Robbins there as well, you know. So I see these 2 guys, I said, man, they are completely normal. They're like me, you know, like they're mortals.
So
you
if
know?
they can do it, I can do it.
If they can do it, I can do it, you know. So after that, I took it serious. I go to the classes, affecting. But still was that like, man, I didn't work all full-time job, you know. It was like, okay, they call me and this. And then before Casa de Papel, I've done the TV show that was just like, I think my wife was still pregnant, you know.
Okay.
And that TV show was very well here in Spain. And I had a like small but important role, you know. And after that, I said, yeah, I'm an actor. You know, I'm Darko Peric, I'm an actor. And then I didn't even think about what's going to happen in next few years. And then what happened in the next few years was just like, oh my God.
So when you get the script from Casa de Papel, like first time you read Casa de Papel, you knew it was going to be big?
Come on, man. First time I read the script of Casa de Papel, my character had no word.
I had no words?
He was there. He was there. You know, when you read a script and then you have like, is there? I said, he's not talking. What is he? He's mute or what's going on? Yeah, man. No, I didn't believe nothing about that. You know, it was like, you know, this thing like when you are, I mean, you've been to States. You know, I've been being expat there. You know, I was an immigrant. I'm still an immigrant. I'm not foreigner. So it's very difficult, and especially in this kind of profession, you know, to do the career in the country. In the different country, you know. So for me, it was I want a stable like job, like as an actor,
something consistent.
Yeah, something consistent. And that was to work in the series, you know.
Yeah.
And then, bam, 5 years in a row in the series, you know. That was like, wow, man. That was really like.
When you read the script, your name was already in Helsinki, like, or it was another name.
Because
I was asked like, who chose the names and why you didn't choose Belgrade? You know, like just.
I don't know. I never been to Helsinki. I didn't ask. You know, the other guy was Oslo, so okay.
You were like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, okay, let's do it. No, I really didn't have any hope in the TV show, you know, because for me it was just another job. You know?
Job, yeah.
I mean, another job, but there was like consistent, like that the season was the first season, so we were shooting like for 7 months. So for me, it was like working 7 months in a row was like
it was good.
Wow,
but
not the moment, you know, that this is gonna be a huge phenomenon.
And it took a while to become a phenomenon because at first it was like not a phenomenon, and then it became big.
At first, they canceled the show.
Yeah,
on Spanish TV, they canceled the show. So for me, I finished the show, so it was like, okay. And after that, Casa de Papel, and then I've done the show for EuroLeague. I've done the casting.
That's right. Yeah. That's
and they choose me for the show for EuroLeague.
Yeah.
So I remember going to arena, you know, meeting basketball players. You know, no one knows me. You know, and then happened Netflix, and then the show went crazy in Turkey, and the Final Four was in Belgrade. I was working with a team from EuroLeague, and we went to Belgrade, and Fenerbahce played. 20,000 Turks came. Every single Turk recognized me, man. That was so crazy.
How did you feel like the first time that somebody recognized you? Like, hey, you from that show? Like, how do you feel?
Man, it came so like huge. I cannot remember the first person, you know, but I can remember. I will never forget that feeling in Belgrade in the Final Four. The first time they organized Final Four, and that for me was, I already forgot Casa de Papel.
Yeah, you were already on the next project.
I was on the next project, and that for me was like working on the basketball project, going to work in Belgrade. That for me was like, wow. And then I came there, 20,000 Turks, like, they stopped me, selfies. I cannot believe, you know, there was, my father went to see me. He was like,
nice. He was like, what?
No one in Serbia recognized me. They didn't know about the show yet, you know. So that was, wow, man. After that was all this roller coaster, like crazy, man, crazy.
and then after that, is it hard to find something else or to do something else because people like identify you with that, you know?
Yeah, you're typecast, of course. With the beard, it's of course that happened to me. I had a project last year in Istanbul, And so I traveled a few times in Turkey. I could not walk on the street, man. So I said, listen, I talked with the director because it was a historic character, you know. So it was like this kind of general with a beard, like Kaiser. So I said, listen, I want to shave. I said, I wanted to ask you, but I didn't know how you're gonna. If you want to shave for us, it's perfect, you know. So man, I shaved the beard, and no one recognized me. They don't want to cast me because there's no beard, you know. That was so crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then step by step, you know, it was like for 1 year, it was like, I can go on the street like normal, you know, like you now grow the hair for the beard, then you can take a tube and go. I mean, I'm an artist, man. If you're an artist, you cannot go all the time in the taxi and no. I need to be with the people, in the people, in the crowd, you know. And when you're famous, you cannot do that.
No,
I mean, you know that. You know that. You know, you want to go to see. I don't know. You want to go to the club, you cannot because you have to take a selfies.
Yeah.
And then that on one side, I was so happy, but on the other side, like, no, we like you, but you know what happened to the beard? So, actually, I made few commercials. They put me fake beard, man.
With the fake beard.
Fake beard.
They wanted the beard so much.
They wanted
They're
the
like,
beard
no, we
so
can't
much.
do this.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
What's your dream now? Like, what's your biggest dream, or maybe like a dream job that you would love to do, or a kind of movie that you would like to do?
I mean, like any basketball player from Europe, you want to play in NBA, you know. So for me, it's like I want to do. Now I want to do like production that is like American production. That is something big, you know. That's not dream, you know, but because I kind of fulfilled my dream, you know.
Yeah.
Because I already like, I mean, doing this with you was part of the dream, you know, as well. So it's just like, yeah, but a wish, professional wish is, yeah, of course, to do like bigger production. Like, I don't want to say now because I know it's gonna happen. You know, it's like when I was talking about the series, I want something that I had for 5 years. You know, yeah. On professional, it's that definitely. And then I start my production. You know, this year I went to Kyrgyzstan. I was shooting a docu there.
Ah, nice.
And yeah, I mean, like you like to do so many people know that you like to do so. Me is the same, man. I'm an actor, that's okay. But as a producer, also like, I like that world, you know, organizing. And so that's on professional side. It's also like producing something interesting. And more than producing by myself, I like co-producing with the others, you know. That is like one serious role in the like big production on one side, and the other side I want to do like some interesting co-productions. I know that you produced, so you know how it is like this brainstorming.
You're brainstorming, exactly.
It's different, you know. As a player, you played. The coach say you what to play, you know, and then sometimes you can do like some improvisation, but normally as an actor is the same, you know. But as a producer, you can, you know, you can do what you want, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I want to come back to basketball real quick because you have so much great players coming from Serbia, Yugoslavia. Now that you see what Jokic is doing, do you think Jokic is starting to be like the best Serbian player ever?
Wow, man. I would like to see Jokic in Europe, you know. What he's doing there is just crazy. You know, what he's doing there is just...
Because his numbers are unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable, man. It's really unbelievable what he's doing there, you know. So, I mean, as I said, you know, he didn't play...
last time,
the
World Cup. Yeah.
World Cup. So let's see next year what's going to happen, you know, because that's what I was telling.
But you can't say right now he's the best ever because I'm sure, like every Serbian people, you're so proud of your country. If he doesn't win with his country, it's hard to say he's the best Serbian player ever.
Yeah, but you know, I don't know. Like for example, that I give you the example from last year in Berlin, like European Championship, French team. Names, amazing names, man. All NBA players, almost. Spanish team, on the other side, new generation, like, and you saw what happened. You know, the same thing happened with Serbia. You know, big names, and then pam pam. You know, so Europe is different. I think Europe is different, and I mean, I would like to see him in EuroLeague as well because it's different. You know, I don't know. Probably he's going to be the biggest ever basketball player from Serbia, but for the moment, you know, like. I mean, still with like from Serbia, I think like these two guys are still, you know,
Stojakovic
and Divac are still like
the big names
for me. You know?
Yeah, for sure. That's why I was asking because you know, then you ask like you have different generation and people will prefer like it's the big debate between Jordan and LeBron James, who people like the most, and so that's why I was curious in Serbia. Like who you see, because I know Vlade and Stojakovic, they're like big.
Yeah, man, and then again, like the physical shape of Jokic is just like, oh my God, what this guy is doing, like with this shape, you know, it's just unbelievable, you know, like dancing bear, you know.
But now, for me, at first I thought like, oh, that's not gonna last, you know. But man, every season he's playing good, and he was MVP, and when he won the championship last year. For me, when you win a championship, it's like okay. It's like you can't say nothing. You have to talk about him now. When they talk about the best players from Europe, you're gonna have to talk about him.
And then the best thing, man, I know, and people knows that you love horses. Yeah. What the guy said, like, what you gonna do now that you won a championship?
I know. You love horses.
I got to see the race. That was like okay. It's definitely character, you know. It's definitely character. He gonna mark the era, you know, like Jordan or Magic mark for us, Divac. Definitely, like all the kids in Serbia, like Jokic is.
What do you think about Djokovic? Because for a long time, I'm like Roger Federer. You have some people, Rafa.
In Spain, definitely.
Now it's hard to not say he's the best tennis player now. It's like you are like even if you don't like him, like you have to say that he's the best now. Are you impressed, you know, like in Serbia? I'm sure he's huge in Serbia.
Man, to be honest, I'm not like a big tennis fan. You know, I used to when I was a teenager because there was another girl. There was Monica Seles. I don't know if you remember. Monica Seles. She was like these girls like Martina Navratilova, Arantxa Sanchez, Monica Seles, Steffi Graf.
I know all of them.
That was like, wow. I was watching tennis back then. Then I stopped like, and then. 2 years ago, I went here to Godó in Barcelona, Godó Open, and I saw playing this young kid Alcaraz.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, and then hooked me again on and then because before I was saying like, you know, you're talking. I think you're talking to only Serbian guy who was never watching Djokovic playing, you know. And then like the last few years, I mean, I missed his whole career, but what he's doing still now because he's like 30.
I think he's 36. I think
36,
something like that.
30. You know,
something like that.
Getting, and then what he's done now in Paris and this is just like, yeah. I mean, you have to admire that. I mean, it's like you. It's champion, man. That's the other mentality. You know, these guys, he don't like to lose. He don't like to lose, and I think for him it's just like losing now is the same thing that losing when he had 6 years.
Exactly, you know? Exactly. No, because I know he's a huge fan of basketball too. I met him in the Olympics, 2012 in London, and we like talk a lot. And I know that he loves basketball. And I really liked when he when he won this last Grand Slam. You know, he did a shout out, you know, for Kobe Bryant, you know, with the jersey and everything, because it was 24. And so I know Novak loves basketball.
This year, when they won the silver medal in World Cup in the basketball,
he came to the game.
And he won. And he won. I don't know, one of the Grand Slams.
Yeah.
They went together like basketball players and Novak Djokovic in Belgrade when they win something.
To celebrate in front of the. Yeah, I saw the highlights.
And he's often when he's in Belgrade, he's often at the games. Yeah. Partizan and Red Star is the same.
He goes to both.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, this guy is a phenomenon. You can tell, sure. As you said before, you don't have to love him or to hate him, but definitely he's somebody that is gonna mark like tennis because. Especially in London, he have like they don't like him, you know, and then how he play with the fans and all that is just like okay, something like McEnroe, you know, like he was doing before, you know. Another phenomenon, man. For such a small country, man, to have these two phenomenons is just like.
So if you have to do your top five best Serbian team ever, who do you take? Top five.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. Center will be Divac.
Okay, Vlade at the five.
Peja 2.
Peja.
Playmaker Sasha Djordjevic, of course.
Sasha Djordjevic. He was good. He was really good.
Playmaker.
Okay. Sasha, the playmaking. Okay. Who's your other wing with Peja?
Yeah. Oof, man, it's Bodiroga. Yeah,
really
Bodiroga.
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 Okay.
But then there's a lot, man. I'm thinking now about the younger generation, you know, and I just like, okay, I forgot like Bogdan Bogdanovic.
Yeah, but you put Bodiroga and Peja.
Bodiroga, Peja, it's like
Sasha the point,
Divac.
and then Divac. And who's the other big with you? Jokic?
Yeah.
Jokic?
Yeah, Jokic, definitely the other big.
It's a good five. That's a really good five.
I think that would be,
It's a good five.
That would be good five.
It's tough, huh? Because you have a lot of good ones. I know.
My God.
You have a lot of good ones, but
just like
okay, I like your five. I was thinking about like which one would I change. I like Sasha at the point. I think he was amazing, clutch too, and he's got that mentality to be a point guard. I like Stojakovic at the two. We need a shooter. I like Bodiroga because he was an all-around player, can do everything, and he was a winner. And I like Jokic and Vlade. Yeah? I don't think I changed anything on your five. I don't think I changed anything.
Yeah, man. Now I'm thinking, and there's you remember Danilovic?
Yeah, Danilovic. Yeah, of course, really
Danilovic
good.
Was
Miami.
very good, man.
Yeah, he was really good. Yeah, but still, I stay with the five. Danilovic, Bogdanovic. Who else? That can maybe make the team.
Paspal was good, very good. Like.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I don't know, man. There's still some, you know. I mean, it's like now I'm thinking like about this. They're still playing, you know, like in EuroLeague, like Teodosic.
Yeah,
it's very good. Like
good.
And Micic, he was like MVP here, you know.
Yeah. Micic is really good. I hope Micic and Jokic come next year in Paris.
Yeah, they will.
I hope they come and they have a big team. It'll be good. It'll be good. I think Paris, because it's Paris, I think you're going to have all the best teams, like all the best players. I think everybody's going to come. Even France, you know, will have Victor. By the way, what you think about Victor? You love basketball. What you think about Victor?
Wow, man. I saw him last year. I've been in Paris for this All-Star game, you know. And he was there, like, he was like a little bit like an alien, man. It was like, you know, the other level, you know. So now to be honest, because it's late in the night here in Europe, you know, to watch the NBA games, you know. I didn't really saw him playing, but I see like some highlights. And man, doing that like block to Kevin Durant, it's like a rookie. It's not. No, I think the kid have that. You know?
I think so too. Yeah.
And the future is like it's kind of Gobert, you know,
but like with a shot.
Yeah, with a shot. Yeah. New generation, man. These kids today, man, 250.
Everybody shoots threes now.
Everybody shoots three, man.
I think it's the basketball of today is evolving, you know, and it's getting better and better. Guys are taller and taller. Guys are faster and faster, and they shoot threes like from deep, like it's nothing. Yeah, like it's effortless, you know. Like it's like they shoot now from half court, like it's nothing.
Court, man, like 14 meters. You know, it's just like wow, man, it's crazy.
No. So for me, it's like people always ask me, "Oh, do you like basketball now?" It's like very different, and I'm like, you have to go with your time, you know. And so for me, that's the way it plays. Like for us, it was a lot of put the ball inside, you know, like we had Timmy and David Robinson. You had to put the ball inside. It was an inside-out game. It was different. Now everybody shoots threes.
But I think it's with everything like that, man. It's like
in
with
life,
music, with the movies. You know, like we grew up with the movies from '90s. You know, now you put that to your kids. Is like, what's this? You know, everything is like more accelerated. Like in the music, the series, the action is like you get like everything in the first 5 minutes. You know, when you like in the basketball the same. You know, like they start like, for example, like with the TV shows. You know, if you don't explain in 5 minutes, people
will zap, go to the next one. Yeah.
So
you have a short attention span.
With the time. I mean, imagine like people in '60s used to play basketball To see, they are dead now, but to see the basketball of today, they will say, what is this, man?
What is this?
Yeah. I mean, here we had, like when it was a pandemic, on the TV, like sport TV here in Spain, they was putting all these old games, like from 70s, from 80s. So because before internet, you cannot watch that, you know.
Yeah.
It was like, so I for the first time I was seeing like I don't know, Barça Madrid from 80s, you know. You cannot see that before, you know.
It's funny that you say that because I like to watch the old games too. Like I will go watch Magic Johnson, Lakers games, Bird games, you know, to see the pace, to see how the basketball is played. So that's pretty cool. I like to do that too.
I mean, me, as I'm not like a professional basketball player, the thing that I learned from that era, it was like a hook, man. Sky hook
Yeah,
for me
sky
is
hook, yeah.
it's still when I'm playing with friends and this and that's. Today you don't see that often. You see different, these different like, yeah.
So do you play a lot with your friends?
Yeah, I have actually now I'm playing with that was so funny, man. The other day, this year I started to play with the fathers. My son is playing basketball here in Barcelona. So we have a group of fathers that we are playing every
nice.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Every Tuesday? Okay.
Every
So
Tuesday.
you play
Yeah,
a lot.
we're playing like for an
I need
hour.
to see your shot next time then. See your shot.
For an hour, no breaks, man.
Okay.
So there was
Okay,
like
okay.
first time I get there like first game we didn't count, you know. So I was thinking that, and then everybody's like, okay, fold. No, don't worry. The second one they start to count. You know, it's like 40, 50 years old, you know. And okay, I said okay. yeah. No, I still love playing.
What about your music? Can you tell me about your music?
Yeah, I mean, like you, man. We love music. I love music. So when I was younger, I had like some projects. Like I love like for me like I grew up with the punk music, you know, hardcore mostly, and hip hop. And now I have a friend. So he was like for years like let's do something together. I said, man, I don't have time, you know. So finally I had time. The other friend, also from Serbia, lives in Germany.
Okay.
So we had that like project, like
So three guys.
3 guys.
Okay.
So he recorded that in Mexico.
Okay.
I record my voice in Barcelona. The other record in.
So you don't record on the same. Okay.
No.
So everybody record their thing.
Record it.
And then you put it together.
Yeah, and then we put it together. So now we are working on that. Just yesterday I was doing like editing the final cuts of the video.
So you sing, huh? You sing.
I'm singing.
You don't play
I'm singing.
the guitar.
No.
Okay.
I'm singing. It's a hardcore. It's rock.
Okay. So when is gonna come out? When can we listen to it?
Yeah, I mean next week we're gonna put the first video.
Okay.
And we're gonna probably beginning of the next year we're gonna have he wants to
So
do.
the goal is to do an album.
Yeah, we already recorded the album.
Oh, you
We
already
had 10
everything is
songs.
recorded.
Yeah, we have everything, 10 songs.
wow.
Everything is now we are still in the process to see what we're gonna do because
I didn't know it was that big project. I didn't know you did already 10 songs. And
10
everything.
songs. Yeah, that was fun. That was
And
fun.
you wrote your songs?
No. We had like lots of friends.
Okay.
Lots of different people.
Okay, so a lot of people
Yeah,
participate.
and then I have this friend here in Barcelona. Like since we know each other for 20 years, and he's a great musician. They're playing jazz. Like he's a bass player also. So he was like, Darko, let's do something. Also for years, you know. So finally I decided to do. So that happened in the almost same time. You know?
Okay.
I record like.
So how long did it take to record everything? Like.
With my friend, he sent me already the music till we find the lyrics and everything. And recording was maybe 3-4 days. You know, in the studio.
So
We
3-4
was in the
days
studio.
recording, but the whole process.
The
took,
whole process was years.
like a year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a year. Yeah.
Okay.
So now with this other friend, it's also like a parallel project. They are playing like ambiental music,
Okay.
and I'm reading poetry. That's and we record like 4 songs like that, three songs in Serbian, Spanish, and Romanian. And my idea is to do in the because I speak like several languages.
I know you speak so many languages.
So
and
I want to do that, and probably we're gonna do that for next summer, like to do so also here, like a tour like with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, but I'm waiting for my copy. Huh? I'm waiting for my copy of the album.
Definitely.
I want to listen.
I'm gonna
to
send you. I'm gonna send you definitely.
But thank you, Darko. Thank you very much, and I need my T-shirt too.
Definitely.
I want
definitely,
my T-shirt with the
definitely.
next generation.
Next generation. We're gonna put not new school, not old school, the middle school.
We're in the middle.
In the middle.
Thank you. Thank you, Darko. Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
man.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So I'll see you tonight.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Voilà, c'est la fin. J'espère que vous avez bien apprécié l'émission. Et comme d'habitude, je vous retrouve la semaine prochaine, tous les vendredis à 18h, le Squeak Show by Tony Parker. Ciao!